Portions of KDKR programming do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or staff.
Prudent Money with Bob Brooks is sponsored by the Prudent Money Foundation on 91.3.
Well, what do you look for in a scam? We'll call this part 2. Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Afternoon. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. I do have a line open if you'd like to call in, join the program. Feel free to do so. 1-877-913-5357. 1-877-913-5357. If you do have a question for me and you don't want to call in, or you just not where you can call in, then go to the website, ask Bob, send the question in, and I will get it answered for you. That's off the website, www.prudentmoney.com. 1-877-913-5357. Well, we're kind of at that stage where economic news comes out. It could be good, but the market could say it's bad. Or it could be bad economic news, and the market says it's good economic news. I mean, you just never know how the market's going to react. Well, we got another inflation number, the PPI, Producer Price Index, and it came in a lot hotter than expected, meaning it indicated that inflation, as big surprise was and still is a problem. Market didn't react so well to that. In fact, let me go ahead and give you those numbers. The S&P 500, which I watch probably the most closest, 1.38% down. Dow Jones Industrial Average, negative 1.26% down. And the NASDAQ, negative 1.78%. There's just really no way to come to any other conclusion than that was just not a good number. In conversations that I've had, especially today, I always like to ask the question, so how is inflation at your house? And consistently, I get the same answer. I mean, I got to tell you, I am tired of higher prices. It just seems like everything is higher. And as we've talked in the past, it doesn't matter really what's going on in reality. It doesn't connect with what the government says is going on. Because government thinks, yeah, it's a problem, but not that big of a problem. Well, I think it's big enough of a problem because we're in this mode that I've called sustainable inflation. And what I mean by that is the consumer can take about the current level of inflation can take it for only so long. They can pay the high prices, but there gets a point to where they're kind of tapped out. And in a sustainable inflation, it just kind of lingers and sticks around. Who cares what the government's reporting? You know, if you're going to the grocery store, you're spending 20-25% more than you used to. And so I come up with these questions because it just doesn't make any sense to me. When does a Chick-fil-A, for instance, say, inflation's down, it's not that big of a deal, I'm going to go ahead and be the leader and bring down prices? I just don't see it happening like that. I just wonder, at what point are we really going to see prices come down? When will inflation not be a problem? Well, and at some point, it will not be a problem. It will go down. And it'll continue to go down until the Federal Reserve Board fixes the problem. And as you know, as we've talked about, and if you watched my webinar, which you can still get, you send us an email requesting it, 2023 and Your Money. Until the Federal Reserve Board destroys most of the economy, because I think that's what it's going to take to burn the house down in order to save it. But at that point, does it become the true supply and demand situation where the restaurant says, well, we're getting obviously ingredients now at a lower price, the prices we used to, and we're not getting as much demand because people can't afford what we're charging. Let's hope it comes down to that, so they start to bring the prices back down. But I'm hearing the same thing, and not once do I hear, inflation's not so bad. And I think it's one of those things where you just get so tired of the pricing and the pricing pressure is what I was looking for. So we'll continue to watch the economic numbers for you and keep telling you at least I'll keep telling you what I think about them, and we will go from there. 1-877-913-5357. I started talking about scams back on Monday. Now this is something else that just fascinates me. Monday was just a couple of days ago. And it seemed like it was just yesterday. The days are going by so fast, it seems like. So I told you last Monday, which was literally 2 or 3 days ago, that I'd finish up talking about this today on Thursday because I thought it was important that you know, because it's pretty easy to come to this conclusion. The scams are everywhere, and if scam artists wouldn't go to the trouble of creating a scam if they didn't think it would work, that it works. And obviously it does work. That's like identity thieves don't go through the same process of stealing information over and over and over if it didn't work. So it does work. So here's a couple of things to consider as we jump into this and talk a little bit more about this, is that they are out in the open. The other day I talked about one fraud that a quote-unquote investment advisor, or pretending to be an investment advisor, was doing. Was in real estate. Was promising like 11, 12% guaranteed returns. Big red flag right there. The warning sign should go off. And he was doing it on AM radio during the morning when they have all the financial shows. He was just blatantly lying on the radio. And what was just so interesting to me is not once does this guy ever worry about a regulator flipping on the radio station and going, he can't do that. Maybe I need to look into this. Not once. I can't imagine if this guy is pulling off this fraud that he's scared, he's not even scared of getting caught. Everyday people are pulling him off. And so you got to be careful. I talked about in my disclaimer about what I'm about to say is that the categories of these investments, there are, and I know a lot of great people, very ethical people that work in the oil and gas and real estate businesses, a lot of them. There's bad apples in every industry. That's where we see them in oil and gas and real estate because it's a easier, I would assume, it's an easier fraud to pull off. Because you're looking at quote-unquote guaranteed returns, guaranteed interest, that kind of thing. So, and of course in crypto, you got to be very, very, very careful in crypto. Now, people are a little bit more, we talked about this yesterday with Chuck Bentley. Great guy. So very blessed to have him come on the program. I don't know anybody who knows stewardship better than he does. He's CEO of Crown Financial Ministries, which is just an awesome, awesome financial ministry. And we were talking about all of this. Oh, the cryptos we were talking about. I went blank there for a second. Yeah, excuse me. The crypto. We were talking about crypto. That's what I was talking about. But the crypto industry has taken such a shellacking. But you know what's interesting, though, is this morning, I didn't check it before I went on air. I was getting ready and had my phone message came on, and crypto was up like 11, I think it's Bitcoin maybe, it was up 11% this morning. And that is why I believe that the carnage in the cryptocurrencies is not over. It's like I don't think it's over in stocks, I don't think it's over in bonds. When a bear market is over in an investment, people are at the point where they go, I don't want to take any of that risk. They don't like the investments. They don't want anything to do with investments. You know that at that point, and it's just doesn't make sense, but it's counterintuitive, but that's the time to buy when nobody else wants it. So the biggest red flag that you can even consider is the fact that they say, on one hand, we're going to give you 11 to 12% guaranteed. On the other hand, there's no risk. Now, I hope that you can see the fantasy that's involved with that statement, where you have two conflicting ideas. We're going to guarantee you 11 or 12%. We're going to give you these big returns. By the way, if you can guarantee me 11, 12%, show me where to sign up, because I would sign up for that. And there's no risk. There's always risk. Because you want to look at what I call the risk spread. And this is how you kind of figure this out. One way to figure it out is that if you come up and guarantee me that you're going to pay me 9% on an investment, on a bond, whatever it might be, and I know that I can go get a legitimate guaranteed investment that's paying 5%, there is 4% more you're going to pay. So the question is, what, legit or not, fraud or not? Well, if it's a fraud, obviously that's another category. I'll be right back. We're up against a break. 1-877-913-5357. This is Bob Brooks. Stick around. We'll be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and Kay Smith. PastorChuck.org. At PastorChuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at PastorChuck.org, a full library of great teachings by Kay Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and Kay Smith. PastorChuck.org.
Do you find yourself overwhelmed after watching the news? Sing more songs. A lot of our anxiety comes from the fact that we look at our God as being too small. Not that we're not tempted to do that, but we need to sing more psalms. Please join us 5 a.m., 1 p.m. Saturday, and 7 a.m. Sunday to hear Jason Wallace give expository teaching of the Bible.
Hi, this is Kirby Anderson with the Point of View Radio Talk Show. I want to invite you to listen to our program on KDKR from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m. Monday through Friday. We look at various issues from a biblical perspective. Our topics range from politics and economics to the Bible, theology, and apologetics. We also bring authors and informed experts to the program. We talk about anything that affects your faith, your family, or your freedom. Hope you'll join us every day on Point of View right here on Bible School Radio 91.3.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. 1-877-913-5357. That is the number to call, and I would love to hear from you. So let's talk a little bit about what I was talking about before we had to go into break, was this thing that we talk about called a risk spread. Give you another example. I had a client call me and said, hey, Bob, I can get this investment into a guaranteed fund, and I can get 7%. What do you think about that? What do you think about me putting some money into that? And I said, well, the going rate for the best guaranteed legit investment on the market is 4%. So you're getting an extra 3%, which means you're taking risk because how could Bank A pay, say, 3% more than Bank B? If Bank B could pay it, they'd pay it because they want to be in competition with Bank A. So it may not be real. Didn't listen to me, went ahead and did it, lost $250,000. It was, name doesn't come to my mind, but it was a real big scam that happened about the same time Bernie Madoff happened back in 2009. So that should be a huge red flag. Liquidity, another one. I'm going to guarantee you, in fact, this is what this real estate deal talked about. He said, I'm going to guarantee you, I think it was 10, 11% right on your money. And at the end of the year, you can have all of your money back. We're going to tie it up for a year. Now, if you're going to give me 10 to 11% and give me my money back at the end of a year, I mean, that's unheard of. Absolutely, if it's legit, would take that. But it's not legit because they can't do that unless they want to be bankrupt. So liquidity, if it's easy liquidity, easy to get to the money, it's a huge red flag. And paying very high, no risk returns. As I always say, check the registration of the investment. This is a huge tip-off, is that legitimate investments are registered with regulators like the SEC. The SEC has taken a look at them, said that they're legit, and registers them, and which means that a registered investment advisor, someone who is licensed as an investment advisor, can offer that investment. So we have two different things that have to be a person and a product that both have to be registered. And 90-something% of the time they're not. In fact, I don't see how they could get away with something that is registered. But anyway, it's not registered, and that's always something that you never want, because it's basically the advisor breaking the law. And what's interesting, I talked about this 2 or 3 months ago, I guess, is that you have some scam artists that are actually portraying. They're imitating an advisor. So let's say Joe Smith is a legitimate advisor. They call themselves Joe Smith. They have cards with Joe Smith on it, and they point the potential victim to the website, which is not even theirs, that says they're legitimate. That is bold right there. But actually, the SEC has busted some people that have been doing that. And somewhere one of these red flags, if you look at that and you go, wow, you really are really a investment advisor. If that fails you, that test, one of these red flags will come up for sure. One of them will definitely come up. And typically they offer it to different types of investors. The one that I was talking about on Monday was, I believe, off the top of my head, was a real estate type deal. And they offered it with a little bit lower interest rate, 9%, to people who weren't quote unquote accredited. And so that kind of brings up the credibility of them. So you want to look for that. But there's a lot of red flags. And there's absolutely no reason why you should fall for it. Something else too. Unfortunately, they approach and they market towards elderly people, and because fixed interest rates are a big deal, very, very big deal. And if there's one conversation, if you are an adult child with parents that are still, if you have parents that are still alive, or one parent that's alive, make sure that you have this conversation with them, that you want to be involved. You just want to hear about anything they're looking into. Now, I know that that's not always the easiest conversation to have, but it's really worth just trying to have that conversation, so that you can be in on the situation and be able to vet it to make sure that it's not a any kind of a scam. 1-877-913-5357. Another, this isn't a scam by any stretch, but this is something that is, I think, a little deceptive, and you got to make sure that that you know the pros and cons of this type of marketing. Annuity sales are hot right now because everybody wants the guarantees, and because of the increase in interest rates, insurers are able to give these great fixed, guaranteed products. And so, if there was ever a time that annuities were made a good, especially with bonds having such a tough time, but being a good place to put some money, it would be right now. That's not a recommendation by any stretch. I'm just saying that they're a good place to look. Well, I saw one the other day that had a rate of 6.15%, and I thought to myself, "Wow, that they're breaking the barrier of 5%, even 6%." And then if you look down in the fine print, that's a 1 year for the first year, and then they go to another interest rate, which they can't tell you. They can only tell you at the end of the year what that new rate's going to be based on what the market is, which could end up not being such a hot deal, by the way. So you want to be careful about that. And then Mark Pfeiffer, who, by the way, wrote an excellent blog that we reposted. What would you do if you won the lotto or something like that? But it's got a great message to it. I'd encourage you. We still have that posted up at prudentmoney.com. I'd encourage you to go check that out. Anyway, he's one of our contributors, comes on every month, talks about mortgages, keeps you posted on what you need to know, what you need to be careful about. And even though, especially in times like this, you have mortgage companies really aggressively marketing the rates, and you look at them and you go, wow, that rate's a lot lower than my mortgage broker recommended to me. And then there's my favorite. When I say favorite, it drives me absolutely crazy when these guys will get on in the market the no-fee mortgage. Not going to cost you anything, and it's just not true, because it's costing you somewhere, unless these mortgage marketing organizations can show where that they aren't making money and they're doing great financially, because they're making money. Not making money because they're going to absorb all the costs is not a good business decision, right? So be very careful, because as we always say when we talk about mortgages, every mortgage company is working off the same rate sheet, off the same interest rates. So it's just about impossible for one mortgage company to have a much, much, much better rate than another company. There's some fine print in there that you need to be reading, that you need to know about. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Let's see here. Okay, well, my computer went down. So I'm assuming we still have some time left. But you got to be very, very careful, because I think that fraud, identity theft, anything like that tends to be the most effective, meaning people fall for it, when we're in situations like we are today, where emotions are kind of high. Like we talked about, people are worried about a recession. People are worried about the markets that could turn around and start going back down again. Investors in bonds, and that's a tough one, because bonds have been such a steady, conservative place to put money that you don't really have to worry. Well, the last couple of years, you've seen what that steady, conservative investment's done, and it hadn't been too good. And so I think that financial stress and anxiety is up very high, which means it's very easy for these fraudsters to get away with things, because people are looking for the easy, guaranteed Show me where I don't have to worry. Show me where I can sleep good. Fortunately, they're out there, but they're not paying excessive returns. And like I said, the only reason I talk about this and bring this up, and I probably bring it up about once a year, maybe a couple times a year, is because people are obviously falling for it because these fraudsters are making a living in it. So you just want to be careful. Hey, this is Bob Brooks. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time. Keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.